What's up, folks? Gabe Montgomery here, Ten Horse Money YouTube channel. I'm kind of hiding from the wind. There's a front pushing in. I got storms. I got about 2 hours to fish, and just ran into Ty, man. Shout out to Ty. It was cool. He saw me sitting here in the parking lot getting ready to launch, and he pulled in and we had a great conversation. So this is another video in the one man, one lake, one bait. And I had a guy reach out to me, Jake Vanderbouden. I'm not sure if I got the name right, but Jake, okay, you know who you are. He wanted to see a video on shaky heads, so that's what we're gonna do today. You know, I've got two rods here. I've got a 7-foot medium heavy, and I have got it's a Cumberland Pro Magnum shaky head with a Hawgz, kind of a Magnum Finesse worm. So 15-pound test. We're gonna throw that out a little bit deeper, and then I also got a Finesse shaky head set up. So this is just a 3/16 ounce jig head with a Zoom speed crawl and the June bug. You know, I've got 15-pound braid, I've got 8-pound fluoro on a spinning rod, 7-foot medium spinning rod. And you know, I don't even know if I'm gonna catch anything. This is probably a day where you would want to throw something moving because we got some wind, we got storms coming and stuff. But you know, that's just kind of how this series works. You guys are really great on leaving comments. I got a lot of feedback. And by the way, if you want to see me come out on the lake and do a certain technique or a certain bait, leave it in the comment section. Let me know. I got a bunch of good feedback on the first video. If you haven't seen the frogs video, check that out. So a lot of good ideas. I'm going to start kind of plugging away at these. It gives me something to do, and I learn a bunch about a technique. It's something special about just taking, I got two rods, you know, I'm just taking two rods out in the lake, and that's all. You focus on those, you know, that bait, whatever technique it is, and you don't get sidetracked. So I don't have a lot of time. I'm gonna dump this boat in, and I'll kind of explain a little bit more about the different baits that I like to choose. There's a lot of varieties of baits you can put on a shaky head, and different weights, things to look for out on the lake. But as of right now, we don't have much time, so I'm gonna jump out there, and I'll see you on the backside of all the fish catches, hopefully with some explanations on why I do what I do and what I've learned about the day. All right, first thing I noticed about this lake is there's a really hard thermocline set up around that 18-foot zone, somewhere between 15 and 20 right there. You can see that line there above the bottom. You can really see it on the down scan. That is the thermocline. So that's an area in the water column where the oxygen is depleted below that. So you're not gonna have fish below that. They can certainly dive down below it for a short period of time, but they're not gonna live down there. So that means you're gonna be keying, I mean, I'm gonna key like 15 foot of water or less. Just look for any kind of cover that's in that 15-foot zone. I'm gonna kind of go down this bank, look for, hopefully there's a little drop off. If there's a drop off that's kind of the top of it's in that 15-foot zone. So this water's about, I'm guessing like 3 to 4 foot of visibility. It's got a little bit of a weird stain to it. Got a little bit of mixed grass out here, just working this shaky head out off the bank a little bit, but I'm trying to stay above that thermocline and kind of feeling around there. I got the Finesse one on right now with the little Zoom speed crawl, and I'm just kind of popping it, working it a little bit aggressively because we got this front moving in, so maybe these fish are feeding. I'm not seeing any activity on top of the water at all. It's kind of, I mean, it's a lot of birds chirping, but not a lot of fish swirling or anything. So I'm going to try to move kind of fast, and hopefully I can get a bite down through this stretch somewhere. Well, a good bite. Set the hook too dang hard. Can't do that on a spinning rod, guys. Some good grass down there. Just little clumps. And get it around that grass, just leave it there and just kind of shaky. Well, tried the Missile Baits Baby Destroyer, and no bites yet. It's surprisingly slow out here. Midday report. It is tough as crap out here. Cannot get bit. You know, it's kind of the deal. You come out here, you're gonna do a video with one technique, and I got two rods in the boat, and I'm just changing it up, but I'm not going to give up. You know, the water temp's 85 degrees, and it's anywhere from like a foot visibility to like 4 foot visibility. Just depends on where you're at in the lake. We've got some thunder off in the distance. Sun is shining now. It's kind of like partly cloudy type of deal. Got a little bit of breeze, but I'm just kind of poking away. I'm going to keep hammering away. Hopefully I can come up with something. There's something else you can do. I've got this. This is a 3/8 ounce Cumberland Pro Magnum shaky head, and really I need to bump up to like a 1/2 or 3/4 to do what I'm trying to do, but I don't have any in the boat. But you can cast this shaky head out, put a rage crawl in there, and you can just crank it real slow along the bottom and just bounce around. Fishing's extremely tough right now. Cannot get a bite. I had one bite on this just now. So sometimes, you know, when they're not feeding, you might have to make them react, and this is a great way of doing that. Just cast it out, let it sink, and just reel it in real slow. Just let it hit the bottom. It's hit the bottom, and there's some grass up there. Just a little bit of rock. You're just reeling it in real slow. Just kind of bouncing off of things down there. There's fish in the area that just won't bite. A lot of these fish are suspended. I'm seeing a lot of fish suspended, and you know, shaky head's not so much for suspended fish. Now I could rig it up, put a swim bait on there, but that's not what we're doing. This is not a swim bait on a shaky head. That's a swim bait. There he is. Get in the boat, buddy. Dude. Tough bite. I worked hard for that fish, guys. I mean, I worked hard for that fish. Looky there, man, it is extremely tough out here. I've been working my butt off to get a bite, and that came on this is the Cumberland Pro Magnum shaky head with a rage crawl in there. You know, decent fish for sure. So just working down this wind-blown bank here, and actually cast it up pretty shallow. There's a little bit more grass here, and you know, they're not biting. It's hard to get any kind of feedback. And so what I started doing is I've got a heavier shaky head there, rage crawl, and I'm casting it and I'm reeling it real slow along the bottom. And that fish, your line just goes slack, and that fish hammered it. That was a great bite. So maybe I can keep going down this bank and picking up a few more fish. It feels good, man. When you're struggling, you haven't got a bite in a long time, it feels good to get a nice good fish. There you go. Let's let this fish go. Thank you for playing, man. It took a long time. Right, it feels good to get a bite. It's tough out here. Man, middle of the day, summertime. Whew. It is dark over there. Man, hopefully, that's going away from us, so we're good. Hopefully we don't get into that. Trying that little shaky head, brother. 1/8 ounce shaky head. Get in here. Get in here. Man. Here we go. Not the biggest fish in the lake, but hey, it feels good on a tough day. I lightened my shaky head up to an 1/8 ounce. So it's a really slow fall. And that's something you can do around grass and wood, because the shaky head's not really good in grass. But if you lighten that head up to an 1/8 ounce, you can usually shake it through the grass. Same thing with the wood and rocks. If you're getting hung up a lot, just lighten it up to a little 1/8 ounce. This is a big bite baits. It doesn't have a screw lock on there. This is the kind I prefer. It's just throwing a worm, a little 7-inch worm on there. That fish just picked it up, never felt the bite. My line just started swimming sideways. We got some storms coming, so hopefully I'll be able to fish for a little bit longer. Seems like these fish may be starting to bite finally after a long dead period. Looks like it's all going that way, but yeah. It is absolutely dumping. Look at this. I bet it's rained at least an inch in the last 20 minutes. It's crazy. My boat's on the trailer, but I don't have it fastened down, so I'm just sitting here waiting for this to pass, man. It was a tough day. It was a tough day. Got a few bites. Glad to get those. We'll talk about it shortly. Man, the wind's blowing 100 miles an hour. It's lightning. It's nasty.
There he is. Little guy. Little shaky head fish. Well, looky there. Little zoom speed crawl. That's not much, but it counts, right? Zoom speed crawl on a 3/16 ounce standard Cumberland Pro shaky head. It's right around that little bit of wood over there. There we go. Shaky head fish. You gotta be a strong little sucker. Get somebody hit this speed crawl. Come in here, buddy. Decent fish. There we go. Right. Here we go. Fish on the old shaky head speed crawl. Pinned him right in the top of the mouth. Decent fish. I mean, it's just, 14-inch or so fish, but feels good, man. It's been super slow. I sat in the truck until the rain quit and got back out here for a couple hours before it gets dark. But tough day. I didn't feel like going home. Felt like I need to catch you guys some more fish. And so far, maybe it's gonna happen. But 8-pound test, a little 3/16 ounce shaky head, little zoom speed crawl. It's not much, but it is a lot right now. It's just one of them days where they're just not biting that well.
Man, it's a pretty tough day, guys. Before we go any further, though, thanks for all the comments on One Man, One Bait, One Lake. Plenty of people gave me suggestions, and if you have any suggestions on topics or baits, techniques you want me to go out and give a try out on the lake, send them my way. I kind of butchered Jake Vandevoort's name. I think that's how you say that. Maybe I butchered again, but he's the one that suggested shaky head. So I was just going fishing. I thought, well, I'm gonna just try shaky head. Now, when I showed up in the lake, it wasn't the day probably to throw a shaky head. Had some storms in the area. Probably could have got by with something a little bit more aggressive, a little bit faster moving, a moving bait. But that's what this little video series is about. It's about going to the lake, whatever time. I'm not trying to set up the right conditions for that bait. That's not what this is about. That's just going at a random time, in a random place, and going out there and seeing what happens, just keeping it simple. But I caught a few fish. It was kind of tough. Shaky head typically gets more bites, but regardless, we did it. So let's talk a little bit about a couple different kinds of shaky heads. There's what I consider the finesse shaky head. This is like an 1/8 ounce or a 3/16 ounce, and I guess you could kind of throw a quarter. Quarter is kind of that mid-range shaky head, but for this video, let's just keep it to 2 different kinds of shaky heads. So finesse and then Magnum. Your Magnum's gonna house your bigger baits. And some of the shaky head jigs that I've used in the past, I had a lot of luck with. I like this Big Bite Baits. Just a ball head with just a traditional keeper. Dirty Jigs makes a good one. Crocalgator makes a really good shaky head. Cumberland Pro just came out with their standard shaky head. It's got the screw lock in it. I typically prefer this style over the screw lock. That's just my opinion. Like this one right here is a great head, but I'll cut a lot of that spring off there. I don't like too much spring. I've kind of went in detail about this stuff. I've done some shaky head videos in the past, so we won't dive on into this too much, but I like that. I think that spring gets in the way sometimes. But one thing you will look for in the shaky head is make sure that you got plenty of hook above the eye. That is the line of travel for that hook, and you get better penetration if you've got that hook point up above that eye. So that's the finesse side. Let's talk a little bit about some finesse baits real quick that you know, I've got a lot of confidence in. I tried a bunch of different stuff out there today, guys. This right here, you know, is one of the best. Zoom Speed Crawl is killer on a shaky head. You can put anything on a shaky head. Any soft plastic, your favorite soft plastic will go on a shaky head. It's just a different form of presentation. That's all it is. You can throw anything on a Texas rig, Carolina rig, you can put anything on a shaky head. It's just a different way to present that bait, gives it a different look. A lot of times it's a stand-up look. It's just different, okay? So green pumpkin shaky, green pumpkin speed crawl, June bug speed crawl, tried both of those. Another thing that I try from time to time is a fluke. You can put a fluke on there, work it on the bottom, kind of pop it up. Obviously it looks like a shad, kind of eating off the bottom or whatever they do. Hawgz Custom Baits. They make a really good straight tail worm, 6 1/4 inch worm. They also make a smaller one. I think it's called the Feral Junior. Straight tail worm is a good bait to put on there. Zoom Trick Worm is another good one. The T-Mac, the Strike King, you know, shaky head worm, the Bottom Thumper. There's a ton of good straight tail worms and they all work excellent. Sleeper bait, the baby brush hog on a shaky head is phenomenal. Pick the color based on the water conditions, green pumpkin, black and blue, June bug. Today, this was what I got the most response from. This is just a 7-inch power worm, blue fleck. And like I said, you can put anything on there. I put that on an 1/8 ounce shaky head. They wanted something slower, so I paired it up with this little 1/8 ounce shaky head. This is the Big Bite Bait shaky head, little 7-inch worm. Got several bites on that. That's kind of just what they wanted for the day. This right here, in my opinion, is arguably the best bait to get bites on a Finesse style shaky head. This is just the Zoom Finesse worm. Green pumpkin, watermelon candy, whatever color you want. This just gets bite. I just gets a lot of bites. I didn't throw this today. I was trying to stay away from it, but it does catch a ton of fish. It's great in the wintertime too. Let's move over to the Magnum shaky head. Now this one right here I've been throwing around. This is made by Cumberland Pro. This is their Magnum shaky head. 7/0 round bend hook. It's got that hitchhiker screw lock. Good stuff. And this is for deeper, or if you're throwing something out and you want to move it. You know, you don't just have to drag a shaky head. You can actually throw it out and reel it in. You can swim it. You can pop it up off the bottom. There's a lot of different ways to work a shaky head. A lot of times it's about that fall. If you're fishing around standing timber or grass, that 1/8 ounce may be the way to go. They like that slow fall, and those suspended fish will suck this in. But if you're strictly fishing the bottom, you want to move up to something a little bit heavier. 1/2 ounce to 3/4 ounce will get it done. This is a great shaky head. I've thrown several. There's a lot of good, you know, shaky heads out there, the Magnum style shaky heads. But I do like a round bend hook versus an EWG. I feel like you get a better hook set in it, and it makes more sense to me. Let's talk about a few baits I like to use on the Magnum style shaky head, and worms. Worms are awesome on a shaky head. Something like this right here. This is the Zoom Old Monster. This is a 10.5 inch worm. This works great on that Magnum shaky head. Pairs up nicely. You can see how it fits on there. It's just a perfect setup for those deeper bass that want a bigger profile. Another bait that's awesome is this big old Mamma Jamma. This is fresh off the press, guys. This is the Hawgz Custom Bait, new 8-inch worm. It's like a Magnum trick worm kind of thing. Just a big old fat worm. You know, Magnum trick worm works great. It's just got a big, nice meat package. Excite Baits makes a big old finesse worm. Well, I guess you can't say it's finesse worm. It's a Magnum finesse worm. Something like this is great out there deep on that Magnum shaky head. A stick bait, a Cinco, a Yumdinger, whatever you want to call it. This is a deadly bait on a shaky head. When the bite is tough, they seem to prefer this profile Texas rig, but you know, especially on a shaky head. You can throw this on any size. I mean, I've thrown this on 1/8 ounce, but I'll throw it up all the way up to 3/4. Max Scent General is another stick worm that works great. Strike King Rage Crawl, killer on a shaky head. You know, the best fish I caught of the day was on this, and I was actually throwing it out and reeling it in, just trying to get that reaction bite. But this is an excellent bait. Any kind of crawl on a shaky head. It's got that stand-up profile. You know, this shaky head's going to stand up, so it's going to cause that crawl to stand up, and you get that defense position, and you got to try it. I'll leave links to a lot of these products in the comment section, so if you want to go check them out, you can. And dropping content on Wednesdays and Fridays, a live stream on Monday nights at 7:30 Central. Here's another one that's kind of overlooked. This is a Reaction Innovations Man Bear Pig. I like to throw this on a 1/4 ounce or 3/8 ounce head. It's just a different look. It's kind of brush hoggy, kind of creature baitish. It's got a good little glide to it, different profile. and it does get bites at times when nothing else works. All right, the last bait I'll talk about that I like to throw on the Magnum shaky head, and guys, let me know some of your baits that you like to throw that you've had success on, because these are just some of the ones I played around. You know, it's kind of limited. Like I said, you can pretty much throw everything on a shaky head, but some stuff works better than others. But the Missile Baits D-Bomb or the Reaction Innovations Sweet Beaver, more of a subtle profile. Fisher maybe want something big, but they don't want a lot of flapping action like the Rage Crawl. I've had some pretty good days on this. This really works good on ledges. If you've got ledges and hard shell beds and drops, it seems like this profile gets a lot of bites. I really like shaky head fishing. I've caught a lot of fish in the past over shaky head. You know, in the winter, that's another overlooked time of the year to throw a shaky head. That Finesse shaky head gets a lot of bites in the cold water periods. Kind of a tough day, but that's how it is. That's what I'm trying to do with this series. I'm just looking through the comment sections, and people make recommendations on a technique, and I just go out there. I'm not cherry picking the day. I'm not cherry picking the technique for the lake. I'm just going out there to experiment, see what happens. Just trying to keep it real. Take a few rods out there, a few baits, a few different styles, maybe a few different colors, and just throw it around and learn a little bit about it, share what I've learned with you guys. And that's what this series is about. You know, this is one man, one lake, one bait. Hope you guys appreciate this video. Hope you learned something from it. I certainly have learned from it. I learned that they don't bite a shaky head all the time, and that's just the way it is. Sometimes the fishing is tough. But give me a thumbs up if you appreciate the content. Subscribe to the channel if you have not. We got some more of these coming up. We got several more suggestions. We got some more of these coming up. Until next time.